Okay, so today we're gonna do a review on the last thing that we did. So I read the standards for Georgia. So we're gonna create equations and inequalities in one variable and use them to solve problems. We're gonna include equations arising from linear functions. ACED2, create linear, quadratic, and exponential equations in two or more variables to represent relationships between quantities. We're not going to graph. So talk about our learning target. I can interpret parts of an expression such as terms, factors, leading coefficients, constant, and degree in context. I can create exponential equations and use them to solve problems. I can create functions to represent the relationship between two variables. I can explore exponential polynomial, and I can analyze exponential equations. So with the essential question, how can you interpret an exponential function? So we have two sheets. The first one, we're going to talk about just basic exponents and multiplication. So look at number one, we have 4 squared times 4 squared. So we want to simplify it and we want to make it to a positive exponent. So looking at number one, before we do the multiplication part, if we see 4 squared, what does that mean? It's telling us to do what if we see 4 squared? Think about it. So we're talking about multiplication, that means to multiply. So if it's 4 squared, that means what? 4 times
4 times
4. So 4 times 4 equals
16. Right.
Okay, you good. No right or wrong answer. 4 times 4. 4 times 4 is 16. That'll be the correct answer. Okay. So 4 times 4 equals 16. We know that when we see when it says 4 squared. But for now, here we have 4 squared times 4 squared. So right now we're only worried about the exponent. So what's the exponent in here? Is it the 4 or is it the square?
The square?
It's the square. So now we're trying to solve and simplify the actual exponent. So now we're going to add those two. So of course, 2 plus 2 equals 4. So our answer for number one would be what? 4 to the 4th power. So it'd be 4, 4. That'll be the correct answer for number one. Is it simple?
Yeah,
Kind of, sort of?
I get it a little.
Okay. So I'm kind of going to skip around a little bit to kind of touch on some questions that we did not get a chance to complete last time. So I'm not sure if I gave you the copy of the second page, but here is it. Here's one right here. So we look at the second copy of the second page. First, let's look at number 11. So for number 11, we have 6x times 2x squared. Okay. So what's the difference between looking at number 11 and looking at number 1? What's the difference that you see in those two problems? Oh, no, I'm sorry. We're looking at number 11 at the bottom on the first page. So we want to go to the second page after that. So what's the difference you see between number 1 when we did 4 squared times 4 squared, and then looking at number 11, we have 6x times 2x squared? Or what's something different that you notice in those first two problems?
The 6x doesn't have an exponent.
Okay. So if it doesn't have an exponent there, what do we have to do? Do we have to plug something in? Okay, so we'll plug it in. So now we'll be first. So now looking at it, we have 6x times 2x. So what is 6 times 2? So now when you multiply with 2's, you're always going up by 2. So we know 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 3 is 6, and you just keep going. So if 2 times 5 is 10, then what's 2 times 6?
I don't
You're adding 2.
difficult.
You're adding 2 every time. So if 2 times 5 is 10, and I'm going to add 2 more when I go to 2 times 6. So 10 plus 2 equals 10 plus 2.
Oh, 10 plus 2. 20, right?
It's
No.
12.
12.
I'm gonna write it on the board. Does it make sense?
I understand it a little bit. I
Okay,
didn't say
so-
a lot.
I'm gonna write it on the board right here. So we have, here we have 6x times 2x squared. Before we even get to this part, we want to do 6 times 2. So like we said, so 6 times 2 equals 12. So when I multiply with 2's, write an example. So 2 times 1, 2 times 2, 2 times 3, 2 times 4, 2 times 5, and then 2 times 6. So we know anytime that we multiply with 2's, I'm always going to increase by how many?
2.
2. So we know that 2 times 1 is 2. Right. So now let's talk about 2 times 2 is 4. What's 2 times 3?
6.
6. 2 times 4, 8. There you go. 2 times 5,
2.
10. And then 2 times 6 equals
12.
12. So we got that part, okay? So now we got that part. So we know that 6 times 2 equals 12. So now we got to talk about our exponents. So like you said before, I have an exponent here, but I don't have one here. So I have to add one, which would be 1. Now what is 2 plus 3 equals, 2 plus 1 equals 3. So now our answer would be what? 12x. It makes sense?
A
A little bit, okay. So you want to do another, let's do a simpler one. So let's look at, find one that's easier. Not easier, but maybe a little bit simple. Let's look at number, let's look at number 6. So for number 6, we have, okay. So for 6, we have 6r times
5R.
5r. Is it squared?
Yes.
Okay.
It's 2.
Squared. All right. So now with 6 and 5, we want to do what? What are we doing with these two numbers?
Times it.
We want to multiply. So let's talk about our division. So we know anytime we do 5s, we're increasing by how much?
5.
5. So we have 5 times 1 is 5, 5 times 2 is 10, 5 times 3 is 15, 5 times 4 is what?
20.
20. 5 times 5 equals
25.
25. Excuse me. 5 times 6 equals
30.
30. And then so on and so forth. So we're going to stop right here since we're going only to 6. So we just did it. So 6 times 5 equals
30.
30. So now what am I doing with my r? I want to bring it down, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Like we said before, if I don't have an exponent here, I want to do what? I want to add one. I want to plug one in. So now my answer is going to be what? I do 2 plus 1. 3. Kind of starting to make sense? I think a little bit easier. Okay.
Now what number was that?
That was number 6. We skipped around to kind of make something a little bit simpler. Okay, so I want you to talk me through number 10. I can write down the multiplication on the side so we can see it. So read me number 10 and tell me what it says.
4.
And walk me through it. Okay.
4x
4x squared
multiply.
times.
Oh, I meant times. 3x.
Okay, so now let's talk about our 4s and our multiplication. Okay. So now with 4, we're going to always increase by how much?
4.
4. So 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 equals 4 every time. So 4 plus 4 equals what? You can count on your fingers, that's fine, I do it too.
Yeah.
So we know 4 times 1 is 1. I'm sorry, 4 times 1 equals 4. And if we're adding 4 to the next one, so 4 times 2 equals 8. Okay, and 4 times 3, we're gonna add 4 again, equals, I do 8 plus 4.
12.
12. There you go. So now we got this part. So now we want to talk about our multiplication. So we want to do, bring this down, let's do 4 times 3 equals, we just did it.
12.
It's 12. Alright, so now I got 12, I want to bring my 12 down. Also, what I'm bringing down after that is my what?
2. Oh.
Before that
X.
is my x. I want to bring my x down. Also, do I want to plug in an exponent since it's blank, which means it'll be what? It'll be 1. So it'll be 12x.
3.
So simpler, kind of getting easier.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's look at the second page. And some of these will be a little bit different. So I want to find something that's similar to what we just did number-wise. I want to stay in kind of that number before we kind of decide to move up. So let's look at number 23. And I'll write it on the board. I'm going to keep the 4s on this side since we already talked about it. And we're going to use it again. So now we have parentheses. Anytime we see parentheses as well, that also means to do what?
Multiple.
It means to multiply,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So now we have exponents. All right. The K is just the placeholder like we had before. So anytime we see these exponents, that means to do what? It means to multiply. So I'm gonna do 3. So I'm gonna bring my K down. So am I doing 3 times 4, or could we do 3 times 3 times 3 times 3? So think about it. That's another way to do it. So we know that 3 times 4 equals, is 12. And isn't this the same thing too? It's just telling me to do 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. So how many 3's do I have right here?
4.
I have 4, which means I'm gonna do what? 3 times 4 equals what? 12. So my answer is gonna be what? And 12. Simple. Makes kind of make more sense with that part. All right, so let's look at number 25. 25 is very similar to what we just did, but now we still have the parentheses, but now we have an x. So I'm gonna slide under here. I'm gonna do it. So we have x. All right. So we have x squared, and then we have 3. All right. So we know that means to multiply. So of course we want to bring our x down. So we want to talk about what we have to do with these two numbers. Are we still multiplying now?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. So what is this telling us to do? Can we do 2 times 3, or also means what? 2 times 2 times 2 equals 6. Good job. Let's kind of move to something that's a little bit more difficult. Okay, let me look. Let's look at number 16. So for number 16, we have more numbers added this time. See how much time we got. 2 minutes. Okay, so we have 6x squared times 6x to the 3rd power. Then we have y to the 4th power. So we still know that what we are doing is going to do what we want to multiply. So what first two numbers we want to multiply first? Do we want to multiply the exponents first, or do we want to multiply 6 times 6 first?
6 times 6.
So let's do that first. So let's do 6 times 6. We can also write our multiplication numbers on the side so we can see. So we know that 6 times 1 equals 6. So now how many numbers am I going up every single time? It's how many?
6.
6. So 6 times 2 equals
12.
12. There you go. 6 times 3. I'm going up 6 every time. Take your time. You got to sit down too. I go up 13, 14, 15, 16, 17,
18.
18. So I want to increase every time. 6 times 4. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23,
24.
24. So then what's 6 times 5? We just did it on about 2 problems ago.
30.
30. Good. And then the last one, 6 times 6 equals, we just doing 30 plus 6.
40.
30 plus 6, not 10, 6. So 31, 32, 33, 34, 35,
36.
36. So 6 times 6 equals 36. All right. So we're going to slide and slide over to right here, to our exponent. So 6 times 6 equals 36. That's the first part of our answer is done. So we're going to do 36. So what we want to do with our x? Do we want to bring our x down? Okay, we want to bring that down. So now, both of these two exponents have x to them. Okay, so 3 plus 2 equals, what is 3 plus 2? For our exponents here. We want to add these two. So
5.
5. So we have 36x to the 5th power. So with our last thing, do we have any other y's in the problem right now?
No.
So what we want to do with that? Do we want to add anything, or do we want to just bring it down based on how it is?
Bring it down.
Bring it down. So our final answer would be 36x to the 5th power. And we have y to the 4th power. Now that one has a couple more steps to it, but we're getting there. And then we also will be having, I'm not sure if we did it in class yet, or we're about to. So we're going to be doing a simplifying exponents. We'll probably get into that in our next lesson. Trying to see is a question we possibly do. Okay, so let's do one more problem, and then we'll be complete our lesson for the day. So the last thing, I'm gonna let you pick one. Pick a number, and then we can walk through it for the last problem. It can be either on the first or the second page.
Uh, 17.
17. Okay. This one has a couple more steps. Does it look similar kind of to how we did the first one? Kind of sort of? Okay, so we have 7u squared. We have v to the power times 9
VV.
uv
3rd power.
to the 3rd power. I know my u and the v look the same. Huh?
It's fun.
All right. You got the point. Okay, so we are doing 17. So what two numbers, well, I guess, what looks similar in these two problems? So we have 7u and 9u. So what we want to do with those two numbers? Do you want to multiply those?
Yes.
Okay. So let's multiply 7 times 9. You can use your phone calculator. You have to. So 7 times 9 equals
63.
okay. 63. So we have 63. Now what do I want to do with my u? Do I want to bring that down?
Yes.
Yes. So I'm going to bring my u down. So that first part of the problem is complete. All right, so we have 63 u. So what is something that you see different? So we know that in the problem that the first half only has an exponent, which is 2, but the second half does not have an exponent. So what do we want to do with that? We want to add 1. So we know that we'll add it here. So 2 plus 1 equals
3.
3. So the 63 u to the third power. Now we have our v's. All right, so we have 5 and 3. So we want to add these two now. And we have 5 plus 3 equals
8.
8. So we want to bring our v down. So our final answer will be what? 63u to the third power, and then v to the 8th power. Questions, comments, concerns about anything? No? Good to go. All right, so I'll complete our lesson.